open session, executive session issue, and we'll go back in executive session later. So call the meeting in order again. And were there any announcement, anything else?
Amendments?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, that's it. Anybody have anything? No? We got a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion that the agenda be approved as submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so again, call to order, can we stand?
Watch the cord, watch, whoa. Wait a minute, whoa.
I'm hung up.
Just watch that.
Okay,
Here, let me do the heavy one.
get Cindy on that.
I'm ready. What do you do?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Lift your chair.
You good?
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Selectwoman, Facilities Maintenance Director.
I used to be IT.
Okay, just one announcement, and unfortunately I didn't make it, I wish I had, but Ernie Blussetti celebrated his 100th birthday last week, and he's still got the Boston Post King. Hopefully he'll have it for another 100 years, I don't know. But we wish him a happy birthday, and I wish I could have been there to enjoy it with him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Happy belated birthday.
That's one of my favorite meetings, actually.
Oh, I remember that one. He was so cute.
Yeah.
Public input. Anybody have public input? No? Okay, Mark? How are you?
Good, thank you.
I think I see you down there.
A few things to cover tonight. The first thing I wanted to do was bring Town Engineer Dan Van Chalkwick up.
Sure.
We belong to an organization called Bay State Roads, and they do a lot of training and offer technical support and things. It's a UMass, MassDOT group that really support us, and so they have an honor called a Rhodes Scholar, ROADS Scholar, and so I achieved the Rhodes Scholar. We also have one of our engineers, Rich Benevento here, who's also a Rhodes Scholar, and Dan just recently got the Rhodes Scholar. To accomplish this, you have to take a minimum of 7 classes that are 6 hours each.
Ooh.
And they're on different things. Better snow management on roads, intersection design, pavement management, and things like that. So it's my honor to present Dan with his Bay State Roads Scholar.
Nice.
We need a photo op. So,
Friday. Comes off.
All right,
Hey.
thanks.
So moving right along, next on the agenda is appointment of the position of water wastewater meter reader laborer. What we in the past have had a person in the water division who is the meter reader. We took that person, if you may remember, and moved him up to the distribution system operator, and then this position is going to be a swing position between the water and wastewater division. So we had 3 great applicants, and it was a tough decision, but Tim Latinen, who is currently working for the DPW as our office assistant, applied, and Tim, probably most of you know Tim from stopping at the office. He is very dependable, reliable, really good customer service. I always tell a funny story about him when I hadn't worked here very long, and there was an elderly woman at the counter for quite a while, and after she left, I said, Tim, what was her problem? And he said, she couldn't read all of her bills, and so she brought them in to see if I could help her go through them. And so we sorted through and figured out what she had to pay and who she had to pay. And it really impressed me, because it's not part of our job description, but it's good customer service. So So Tim's worked for the town for over 4 years, so, and he understands the meter billing system, the operations of the DPW, so he really had the heads up on that. This position does require a CDL license, a hydraulics license, and a water distribution license. And he does have his learner's permit for his CDL, so we're confident that he can get the other licenses.
Great.
So I'm recommending him for that position. And we also, in the contract, have steps. And so the step 3 is the closest to what he's making right now. It's a little bit under, but is close to what he's making now. And he does have experience with the DPW, which counts in assigning the steps. So.
Very cool.
So that's my recommendation.
So
Tim, why don't you come up and see if they have any questions for you?
Hi, Tom.
Big any
Hey,
question?
Tim.
How you doing?
Hey, not bad.
I always like to see promotion from within. It's good,
Yeah, I agree.
you know, and,
Trading the warm office for the,
Yeah.
See how you feel about this in February,
By
but.
the time I get started, see where we go.
yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. You've done a good job in the office.
Thank you.
He'll be crawling under those crawl spaces in the houses to put in new meters.
Yeah, roaches and raccoons and things.
We've got all the easy ones done. We've saved the hard
Oh,
ones.
okay,
so.
yeah.
Where do you live?
I know, jeez.
After Mr. Schwinger put my
Yeah,
meter.
well, he's found some raccoon skeletons.
Anybody got anything for Tim?
No, I'm just happy. What, I'm sorry that Cindy has my iPad over there. It crashed. What was the title again of the position?
It's the
Reader and.
Oh, I would,
well, it's the water wastewater meter reader laborer.
okay.
Say that 3 times fast.
No, I've already forgot what it was. I make a motion to, promote,
Boy.
appoint Tim Latinian?
Latin.
Latinen to the wastewater meter reader laborer position, effective, do we have effective date, Mark, or
It would be effective the 18th.
effective the 18th?
One of the things is he's going to have to kind of do double duty until we fill his position.
Effective August 18th.
And that was a
2016.
condition that Pam made very clear.
Yeah. No.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great.
Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah? Good luck.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congrats, Tim.
I thought you were leaving.
So soon, we just started?
The next item is, we have a change order for our East Street Water Main project. I think I explained previously, so the way this project is funded is we have a USDA loan and then a grant. And we don't get the grant money till we use up all the loan money. And the project came in under budget, so we're at a point now where we're starting to add stuff to the job. So this change order is, we looked at how much money was left, and it includes, we're gonna do a little bit better paving than we had really planned on East Main Street. So I don't know if you've seen where we've ground down
Yeah.
the road.
Maybe get some
Originally,
work
he
in
was
the
just
street.
gonna do the trench, now we're doing out 14 feet, so that'll solve some of the traffic problems until we get
Yeah.
the whole road repaved. And then we're gonna add a section of, we're gonna put a new water main in a section of Fletcher Street to
Great.
replace
Great.
a piece of that, about 800 feet on
Moving in
Fletcher.
East Street?
And then we've done East Street
Oh, okay.
up to Third. Had the biggest hole in air out there yesterday, making the final connection.
Have you seen these guys? I mean, this contractor's good. These guys,
And,
I think I've
and then
seen
we're
this in the
gonna
past.
do
Thank you.
Prospect Street,
Oh, good.
behind the courthouse and up to Oak, and then we're gonna do Oak up to Grove Street. So, so we're getting a significant additional amount of water
fantastic.
main with the grant money. So I have two change orders for signature by the chair.
Right.
Right, and they're both for the East Main Street?
It's for the East Main Street,
Contract?
and the amount is $303,723.30.
$303,000.
723.30.
Okay, and that's for the first change order? Or
It's
Both of
it's
them
change
combined?
order number 2. We've already done one change order, so it's change order number 2, which includes the additional paving and the additional water main.
Okay, so I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the East Main Street contract change order in the amount of $303,723.30.
Yep.
With signature by the chair.
Second.
Moved and second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
The next item is a change order for the West Main Street pumping station. This is change order number 1. What happened was we designed this back in, well, we bid it in April, so we designed it over the winter. And we're getting an easement from Calco. Calco LLC, who's Calvin Moore.
Yes.
And he's actually doing some work on the property, and when we finally got our design synced up with his, we ended up having to move the station to the other side of the property. So it resulted in some additional piping and excavation cost. So we executed a change order for that. It's, the change order amount is $19,642. And this job was, the bid was significantly under budget, so this is well within our contingency.
And Mr. Chairman, just for the board's info, the memorandum of agreement on that pumping station has been executed. So all of those details have been worked out, and it's been,
And so this is for signature by the chair.
It was 19,642.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the change order for the sum, for the West Main Street pumping station for the sum of 19,642.
Signature by the chair.
With signature by the chair, thank you.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody? Okay.
Let me find the signature page. Next item is engineering agreement for CDM Smith. There are wastewater consultants, and this is the next phase of the work. Last year they did a facility evaluation. This is the next phase of the work to kind of boil down what we have to do, and it's looking at a couple things. One is modeling of the process so that we can see what we need to do to really optimize it. And then also, one of the big issues that could have a big price tag to it is we have a discharge permit that has metal restrictions, aluminum, copper, and lead. I think we're okay with the lead, but the copper and the aluminum, we might have some issues. And the way the EPA sets those limits is if you don't have any water quality data at your discharge, they use what they call the gold standard, which is off-the-shelf numbers that are pretty strict.
Impossible.
And so, so part of this is to do some sampling, which they're actually starting to do next week, out in the river itself, and then we can get enough data to show that we shouldn't have to meet those strict requirements. Then we'll go back and get our permit revised.
I'm assuming the remedy for that would be more equipment, more
If
things
you,
to...
yes,
yeah.
if you have to remove those metals,
gets
it's
pricey.
pretty expensive. And so this is the next phase, and then there's also some engineering cost to finalize the final capital improvements. So we have two copies for signature by the board. The total amount is $200,000, which was what was budgeted at town meeting. That includes an allowance of $20,000 for unknown things. Generally, we do this with task orders, so they have 6 tasks, and then we authorize each task
Okay.
as we go.
Got this one, Janice?
Yeah, so I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the agreement between the Town of Ayer and CM Smith Incorporated for the airway supply recommendation in the amount of $200,000 with signature by the whole board,
No, by the chair.
by the chair, okay. Did that come out right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, second.
Moved and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
All right, now the fun begins. This is the stuff I like.
Oh, means we don't like it,
That's
right?
Yeah, the wastewater.
You know, it's in your packet. I had some information with what's happening with our water supply and a recommendation, and also since I put together my packet and tonight, there's been a change in the status, which I'll
Does it
get to
rain?
in my presentation. No.
Did that count?
So
far, did it?
what I did, you know, as everyone knows, it's been extremely dry. We've been pumping the heck out of our wells, and so what I wanted to do was I have some recommendations on what we need to do to make sure we've got a safe and adequate supply for the town. But I also thought I'd give you a little background on exactly what our water supplies are and why this is so important. So, so just to give you some background, we have 2 well fields. We have the Grove Pond well field, which is on the other side of Peroni Park, and we have 3 wells there. That was recently upgraded, I think 2013, 14.
14.
The wells are fairly new. Spectacle Pond is, we have 2 wells, both are getting a little long in the tooth. We have 2 water filtration plants that remove iron and manganese from the water. The Grove Pond wells were constructed in 2012, and the Spec Pond wells, number 2 was constructed in 1990, and number 1A in 2010. One thing that happens with the wells, because we have such high iron and manganese, they tend to clog up with iron, and so you have to clean them and back flush them, and we tend to do that on the Spec Pond wells. We try to do 1 well a year. We got a little out of sync this year. We didn't do either of them this year. I thought we could get away with it, but it hasn't been that problem. Just so you get an idea of where our water comes from, here's a map of the town. The 2 stars are where our well fields are, and the green is the aquifers. So you can see that the 2 well fields are in different aquifers, which is great, because if you have a problem with contamination in one aquifer, the other one is still going to be pretty clean. And also, if you're losing recharge in one, then the other one is a spare. But they're also in 2 separate river basins, so we have 2 separate state permits for withdrawal from the 2 wells. At the Spec Pond well field, I didn't put a star on there, but if you go a little bit to the right on the other side of that pond, that's where Littleton has a couple wells. And if you go over into the dark green that sticks up from the Grove Pond well along the Nashua River, Devon's has a couple wells up there. So, and Devon's also has some wells on the dark green streak that runs down from Grove Pond. So the aquifers are tapped pretty well, but they're pretty high yielding aquifers. Just to give you a little idea of how a groundwater well works. So basically, what we have is what's called overburden or sand and gravel wells. So this is, I put up there, it rained last night, why do we need a ban? And it really rained this afternoon, so why do we need a ban? It takes a lot of water to get back down into the water table. So if it rained today, probably none of that water is getting into the wells. It's either evaporating or getting soaked up by the lawns and the trees and running off into the streams before it gets to us. But generally, you can see how the water table draws down around the pumps. And so if we didn't have a well pumping there, you'd have a straight line down to the stream. And what happens is, the longer you pump, that water table line draws down more and more, and pretty soon you don't have any water flowing into your well. Just a little bit of well data. You can see we've got plenty of capacity for maximum MGD out of the wells. The problem is you can't pump them all. Oh, I forgot to fill in the current MGD rates. We're pumping probably at about our permitted capacity, a little bit higher than that. We're pumping about 500,000 gallons a day out of each well. And sometimes we have to pump a little less, and sometimes we don't. And that permitted number is it's a law that we have to follow. We can't pump more than that. Just a little bit on how much water we're pumping. We're pumping, our average day use historically has been about 1.27 million gallons a day. And that's take the total amount you delivered during the year and divide it by 365. The maximum day over the last 5 years has been 2.44 MGD. This year, our maximum day wasn't that much higher, it was 2.5, but you can see our summer average day is 1.82. So we're pumping a lot more water than we normally would. And you can also see 60% of our water is commercial industrial over the period of a year.
Are you seeing a lot more people water irrigation?
We have
Systems.
we have about 3,100 customers in town, and we have 330 water-only meters that are hooked up to irrigation systems. And then we also have some that are hooked up to that aren't water-only meters that are hooked up to irrigation that are doing, so they pay water and sewer, but not, I don't think we have a lot of those. But so about 1/10 of our system has sprinkler systems, and one of the things that I'm going to look at when Pam gets back from vacation is, out of those 330, how much water are they using on an average day? And then this graph shows how much water we're pumping out of the wells, and you can see the blue is this year, and it's the champion for the three for May, June, and July. And I would guess August we're going to be up there too. Usually by August your water demand has gone down because everyone's lawn's already burnt, so they don't bother trying to keep it green. And then here's our precipitation report through July. If you put August in there, I think we're up to about 2 inches in August right now, but that's still way below the average. So we haven't been close to a monthly average yet this year. And again, that affects how much water is getting into our aquifer. So the more we draw out, the less there is in there. So what are we doing about it? So experts advise state to get serious about the drought. This is the State Drought Management Commission. They met last Thursday, and they made some recommendations to the DEP. Here's a headline out of the Globe, and you can see Ayer's in that dark orange, not the extreme drought, but the severe drought. And here's the letter we just got from the Department of Environmental Protection that has guidance on outdoor water use restrictions, and you can see regions in drought warning, severe drought conditions, outdoor water use should be banned. So based on all these factors, what my recommended action is that the Board of Water Commissioners declare a state of water emergency in accordance with our water use restriction regulation, and implement restriction 5F, which is outdoor water use ban, which is watering with hand hose only or watering with water can only, and all other outdoor watering prohibited. And I recommend that the ban remain in effect until drought status changes. Because just even though it's raining now, we're still in a deficit and we've got to start seeing those water levels come up.
Right.
So to implement this, what we propose is that we would notify the public using our social media, notify the public with a townwide code red telephone message. We are required to notify Mass DEP of the additional water restrictions that we're putting in. We'd mail a notification to our large commercial users and out-of-town property managers. If you notice, a lot of the condominiums and apartments have irrigation systems, and the property managers may not get the above messages, so we'll try to contact them separately. And then we'll monitor compliance with the Water Division staff, and we'll issue tickets to violators. So so I drafted up, I don't know if you've seen, we have a little flyer we hand out. I think there's some in the Selectmen's office. If we see someone watering, we give them a copy of the flyer. So I've modified that there's no outdoor monitoring, and that is basically the first violation. When they get that, we'll write down their address, what the time, date, what the violation was, and that'll be their first warning. And then after that, we'll start fining them. And then the long-term recommendations for the board to consider is that we should evaluate modifying our existing water conservation measures. Right now, we just restrict the hours in the summer from between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. You can't water. And I would say we could also add an odd-even watering ban. Most have time restrictions and an odd-even ban. And it just means you water your lawn every other day. Possibly having no Sunday outdoor use, so the wells get at least one day to rest. And then also looking at sprinkler system design so that we have sensors in them so that when it's raining out, the sprinklers aren't going. And you see plenty of that going on also. We've also talked about looking at, do we want to have a seasonal irrigation water rate? Right now they pay the straight water rate. Do we want to say for the water only meters that we have a rate that's a little bit higher, or an opportunity to implement a higher rate? And then, one of the issues that we were worried about we have been worried about all summer is if we lose a well, we're in kind of rough shape. And you've got a lot of mechanical and electrical equipment running those wells. We have an interconnection with Devon's, but I don't know if we would ever get any water to town if we needed to open. It's way down on West Main Street. We do have another one we can hook up with fire hoses down on Fitchburg Road, but I'm going to look at an interconnection up at Grove. And then I do have improving the one on West Main Street in my capital budget for a couple of years out, but we might want to look at moving that up also. So that'll be part of my capital plan for this year. And then we're also working on a new replacement well for Spec Pond, well number 2, to basically the DEP will allow us to put a well next to an existing well, and it's a lot more efficient. So that should improve that capacity. So those are the recommendations that we'll be looking at.
Does that apply to people with wells as well? Assume we're pulling from the same groundwater.
I don't know how many wells there are, and I don't think some towns are doing that. I think Pepperell is, but I'm not recommending that. I think it's a little harder to monitor, and it's also not necessarily the same aquifer. A lot of private wells are deep rock wells, so they're taking water from different areas. So, and I don't think it's going to have an impact on the town's water supply as much as.
And there isn't that many wells,
yeah.
I guess, in town. But.
Yes.
Do you find that people have been pretty much complying, or?
They comply with the 9 to 5, but you drive around town at 6 a.m. and you'll see a lot of sprinklers going.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Rick one morning drove around and I think he counted, I forget what it was like 30 lawn sprinklers going that he saw. And he says when he comes in the morning, and obviously, everybody gets up in the morning, they're taking showers and stuff, but their sprinklers are going on. And we can watch our water tank level literally dropping at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. With everything, with all our wells running, it's still taking a big... Now, we also have the new Pingree tank that's not quite online because the Crabtree development still needs to put in their road. That should be happening any time now, and then we'll have that tank online, and that'll help a lot also. That'll give us a big emergency buffer and stabilize the demands. I know.
How much is held in those?
Well, the one tank we have up on off of Washington Street is 1.5 million gallons, but if you drop it down more than 1 million, then people on top of Washington Street aren't going to have any water. The tank up on Pingree is 1 million gallons, but it's only 20 feet high, so all of that is used, and there's a lot of gallons per foot. So you won't see that tank bouncing much at all. It'll really keep a pretty stable pressure. And it's actually kind of a good thing that we didn't have the pipe hooked up to it, because I don't know where we would have got the 1 million gallons to fill it.
Oh, right. Okay. Questions? Robert?
Also, Mr. Chairman, as the board is aware, since you last met, the town has ordered all of the irrigation systems on all of the town assets, town buildings turned off. It's been a couple weeks now, as well as no routine washing of public safety vehicles and so forth. So we have shut down the town system, the library, the parks, and so forth, until this improves.
And I'm assuming the chief maybe can put this up on his board.
I think he has.
Oh, has
He
he?
had it up
Yes.
there. Yeah, we're going to make up some signs and put them around town. We have some little A-frame boards. We'll put those up also. And I think, in our public media notification, we'll let the residents all know, if you see your neighbor watering them, just remind them that we do have a water ban.
And grass is not like, grass comes back. It burns.
Right.
It'll come back in September. October,
What I've noticed,
Start all over again.
I haven't watered my back lawn at all, but the grass is pretty brown, but you know what, I don't have any weeds either, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been...
I got plenty of weeds in the green.
So I'm like, oh, look at the green.
Figure out
It's
the
weeds,
DNA
but
of
it's
that,
green.
to come up with a...
Yeah.
I make a motion to adopt the, what was
So we
5F?
go back to which one we
Yeah.
want. Oh, it's right. Well,
Where's my iPad chat? The outdoor, implement restriction 5F, the outdoor water use ban. Outdoor water use ban, outdoor water uses are controlled, sorry. Implement restrict 5F outdoor water use ban as outlined by the DPW superintendent, effective immediately.
Second.
Moved and seconded, anything else? Well, it's a good, needs to be done. So
Yeah.
it's, and we're all at the same issue in Central Mass. so.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
okay, thank you.
Thanks,
That's all?
Mark.
That's all?
I got
For
one
now.
more,
And
but
are
I'll
we
be
gonna,
back.
is it just gonna be the water department that's, are we gonna obviously notify the PD, fire? Obviously all municipal employees that,
Yes.
to notify, okay, great.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Mark.
What happens if there's a fire?
Hmm?
What happens if there's a fire?
I was thinking that, actually, if there
We
was
have
a,
plenty of water for a fire. The problem is after the fire.
do you draw it down so much, can you recover to the point
That's
where,
what
yeah,
happens.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah, once the tank gets to a certain level, it's hard to fill it back up.
Well, public safety isn't in danger right now.
Not right now.
Yeah, okay. All right. 7:30? Yes. Public hearing. Do we have a notice?
Janice White, I'm gonna use the restroom, Janice White, you're reading that.
Yep.
Okay. Notice of public hearing, Nashua Street Extension. The town's consideration of its option to purchase real property pursuant to General Law, Chapter 61, Section 8. On Tuesday, August 16, 2016, at 7:30 p.m., Ayer Town Hall, first floor meeting room, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432. The Ayer Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing as part of their scheduled meeting on Tuesday, August 16, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the first floor meeting room of the Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432, for the purposes of discussing the Town of Ayer's exercise of an option to purchase real property known as Nashua Street Extension, Assessors Parcel 10, Map 13, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 61, Section 8, and topics related thereto. And it was received by the town clerk on the 8th of August, 2:48 p.m. I don't have where it was published.
It was published on the town's social media and the town's posting board.
All right, so call to order the public hearing. Robert, do you have something to frame with this?
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
To you and the board, as mentioned in the public notice, which was duly posted, the purpose of the public hearing is for the Board of Selectmen to obtain from the public information, evidence, other materials to assist the Board of Selectmen in making its determination on whether or not to execute its right of first refusal on the acquisition of the Nashua Street extension property. As the board is aware and as previously discussed, the town of Ayer did conduct a certified appraisal of the land in question. It was conducted by the appraiser Leon Boudreau from Fitchburg, Mass. The appraised value of the land was $535,000 based on the appraisal. The appraisal has been on record in the Board of Selectmen's office since it was conducted. So, you have in your packet, which was with the notice, you have the original May 24th letter, the notice of intent to convert to residential use, submitted by Attorney Tom Gibbons on behalf of his client. You have the land in question in the map. And as part of that, I also did submit to all departments what we call an interdepartmental review as to garner input from departments on the potential use of the land. Went out to all departments. We also did mention in that review some of the things that have been discussed publicly here by the board, of the concept of using the area for potentially some kind of municipal use or community center, the idea of open space, just to sort of frame what was been discussed. The departments that did respond did not respond with an intent either way to acquire, but I didn't get anything specific in that sense. So it's before the board now in terms of the hearing, how you want to conduct it, maybe those that have to speak for it and those against it, or however you want to conduct it, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that's, thank you, Robert. Well, anybody that wants to speak in either direction with this, they raise their hand, give their name, give their address, and we'll call upon them to speak. I'm not gonna, take something that's rehashed, only a different way. So if you have something new to say, that's fine. But if you're gonna keep saying the same thing, only a different way, we don't have all night. So I open it up to anybody in the audience that wants to speak for or against this.
I'll just say something generally, and it's not specific about this.
Can I
parcel.
Name, please?
I'll just say something generally, but not specifically about this parcel, I guess.
can you give your name? Yeah,
All right.
and give your name and your address.
Sure. Review?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Barbara Mack, and I live at 105 Pleasant Street.
Okay.
So rather than address the specific parcel, I just wanted to make myself known to you that I'm interested in doing any grant proposal writing that the town might be interested in now or in the future to acquire land. I'm a good writer and I've got a long track record with investment types of writing, but I haven't done a lot with environmental writing. So I don't know what types of grants the state might have available or what is available at the federal level. I'd have to research it. But anyway, that's about the extent of what I wanted to say. So I'm not going to drag on about this particular one, but I know there are a number of parcels that will come up over time, and there may be some interest in green space, particularly since the town is quite developed at this point. So that's about it. I'll give you my contact information later.
You can give it to Colleen, sure.
Sure.
Thank
Okay,
you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think Beth had her hand up.
Oh, Beth, come on up.
I look forward to talking to you at some point. Thank you for that offer. Beth Stidmeyer, I live in 16 Nashua Street, and I'm the co-chair of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. And I had sent in a few slides that Carmen.
We have slides?
Great. Yeah.
When did we get those?
4 o'clock.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide some comments today on behalf of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. We've been discussing this issue along with updating the Open Space and Recreation Plan for some time now, and have been aware that both the Nashua Street and Pleasant Street properties would be coming up for right of first refusal. And while they were under review at the planning board, we're also making some comments about the interest from the standpoint of open space and easements for trails and things like that regarding these parcels. And now that we've reached the point for the right of first refusal option to be considered for Nashua Street, I wanted to just share some additional thoughts and comments. So, for those who aren't, whoop. Wrong one, sorry. And maybe I'm hitting the wrong, there we go. The right and left, okay.
Yeah, but there's
Gotcha.
a mixed slide in there, so.
Okay.
Were we sent these slides?
I received them this afternoon through the
Oh,
chair.
no, I'm sorry, I just didn't know if
Yeah,
someone
I
missed.
received them this afternoon and did send them to the
Oh.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get
Okay.
them.
My
ahead of time.
apologies for not
Okay.
getting them sooner.
Sorry, Robert, I didn't mean
Yeah.
that you didn't send them, I just
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it was something. that I
Just for the
missed.
benefit of the audience and those who might not be fully familiar with the area, we are talking about the end of Nashua Street just to the north of the downtown area here. The area identified is shown in the parcel map below, and then the particular location of the Nashua Street extension parcel is the one circled with the oval here. And there is a fair bit of open space that surrounds this parcel, as you can see, as well as a network of wetlands and streams and hydrological connections going to the James Brook to the north, and that's identified basically with what you see in the Beaver Pond area on both sides of the rail trail. So I should point out there's no, does the mouse work for, yeah, let's show that. Thank you. Just to give some more context, this is the rail trail right here. Okay. This is Pleasant Street, this is Nashua Street, and then over here is Washington Street, and this is the whole school campus, school complex area. So, in terms of resources of interest associated with the parcel, it certainly has a unique proximity to the downtown core residential area of the downtown and this residential district. The proximity to the rail trail and then the proximity to the school are also key factors to consider. There is prime agricultural soil on the site, so it is a primarily forested area, but there is prime ag soil there as well, which is important to consider because we have relatively little amounts of prime ag soil left in town that don't have houses or buildings on them. It's proximate to environmental justice populations, so when we think of the potential for using the parcel for any type of a community service or a community center, being really convenient walking distance to environmental justice populations. We have two types of environmental justice designations in Ayer, and one of them is associated with minorities and the other is with low economic populations. And both of those are in very close proximity to this particular parcel. I mentioned the wetlands and hydrological connectivity throughout this sort of open space area. The parcel to the just below the parcel that's circled here, has a very large wetland in it, and then there's a number of connections that go into this parcel, as well as a stream that goes through the parcel. And then the flood zone is not directly related to this parcel, but would be the area adjacent to the beaver pond and the streams to the north of this parcel. To the clicks. So when we talked, I spoke previously about Pleasant Street Extension or Riley Jane Farm Development that is also proposed. We're talking about, and I'm sorry, the overlay of the orange polygon got mixed up a little bit, but we're talking about the whole extent of this area, so including the Nashua Street and the Pleasant Street parcels. It's this entire area, and both of those areas and all the assessors parcels that are identified here are all subject to, or being proposed to be developed with residential housing. And the qualities that I described with the Nashua Street site relate to the Pleasant Street site as well. Even though that's not currently up for right of first refusal, it's worthwhile to discuss it in the context of the overall situation in this area and the open space that surrounds the subject parcel. As you'll see, the Pleasant Street parcel actually contains, it's closer to the rail trail and also has a fair bit of open field land associated with it. So when we talk about what the town might be interested in doing with parcels like these, we have results from a survey that was conducted as part of our open space and recreation planning process. The survey was done in February and March of 2015, and there was a fairly reasonable number of respondents, with 85 responses that were received. And some of the answers to this question: please identify the 3 most important open space and recreation frameworks or strategies you would like Ayer to focus on. There was over 40% response for considering public parks and recreation and sports, public natural areas, and biking, walking, and network connecting, or a biking and walking network connecting open spaces and downtown Ayer. And this area that we're talking about has significant opportunities for doing all of those things in this area. And again, I highlighted previously that the downtown proximity to the rail trail and the school system is really ideal at this location. Additionally, a couple more of the survey results. The bottom graph is probably the one of more interest. Do you want it to be easier to walk around Ayer? And there was a 70% response, over 70% response, that yes, you would like it to be easier to walk around Ayer. And I think that connections to the rail trail, as well as improving sidewalks and accommodations at the roadways and things like that will help. But whenever you think about a real safe feature to have multi-use paths that connect to the rail trail and allow people to walk and ride their bikes without having the hazards of being in proximity and encountering automobiles is certainly something that we would like to see more of.
So Beth, you said there was
Yep.
around 1% of the population?
I'm sorry?
About 1% of the population respondents?
The respondents, there were 85 respondents. Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Which I know it doesn't sound significant, but there have been a lot of surveys that have been done that have had fewer respondents, I think, too. So, yeah.
Good.
Do you think there's enough open space in Ayer? For this one, there was 65% that said they thought no, there was not, and 22 that were unsure. And I think part of the response to this question is a little bit associated with the lack of clarity of knowing what open space means and refers to. And then, because there's quite a bit of difference with the response to the next question, which is, do you think Ayer should permanently protect more land? And that had an 82% response. And through both the community preservation plan committee, our community preservation plan development process that happened a fair number of years ago, maybe close to 6 or something like that.
Five or six, yeah.
There is tremendous indication through that public process that, the public really is interested in protecting more open space land. And then more recently, as I'm describing with this slide set, with the open space and recreation plan process, we've heard that, we should really be prioritizing and focusing on utilizing CPA funds for the protection of more open space and recreation resources. Finally then, what recreation activities, indoor, outdoor, indoor opportunities do you want to see more of in Ayer? And respondents could identify as many as they felt were appropriate. So biking, hiking, indoor recreation, swimming, walking in natural areas, and community gardening all had pretty significant responses here. And all of these are also activities that you could consider being able to utilize the space that we're talking about here for. Some of the more obvious ones certainly include, biking and hiking, walking with the use of a multi-use path. And then the swimming, for example, falls underneath the category of using the spaces in the future for something like a community center or recreation facility. So both of those have come up in the open space and recreation planning process as well as in the master planning process, I believe. So let me see. Certainly with the prime agricultural soils, the community gardening would be something that would be appropriate for this area, and something like a park or nature play area or even a playground or something like that could be sited in the area as well. So I just did want to mention a little bit about the potential scenarios if the land were to be acquired, because the town does have flexibility in considering acquisition of Chapter 61 lands. The lands do not necessarily need to be in permanent conservation protection. So, which you would think that since it's in a tax abatement program for the purposes of keeping the land in either forestry or agriculture, that it might need to stay in conservation. But once the town acquires it, it does have some flexibility in the way that the town would choose to use it. So something like the community center, or even purchasing part of the property with the intent of then trying to regain some and recoup some of the costs that would have been used to acquire it by selling off some lots for development to developers. Something like that is possible, and those sorts of things do happen in other communities. And then certainly to consider funding sources that if CPA were to be used, obviously we would need to use the money for a particular category of CPA funding. So the open space and recreation could be community housing, something like that or low-income housing, for utilizing CPA funds. Historic wouldn't be applicable in this situation because we don't have a historic resource there. But then there also are a lot of land trusts and partners that we could work with we currently aren't eligible for the state grants for open space resources because our open space and recreation plan isn't updated. We're working on that and hope to be eligible for those very soon. But there are other partners and land trusts that I think would be interested in working with the town if we chose to move forward on projects like this one. Just a couple of images of the potential uses that I mentioned previously, with the multi-use path that could connect ultimately connect the rail trail to the school complex, providing safe routes to school for a whole suite of residents that currently don't have options for walking to school, like those who live in the Rosewood neighborhood and along Groton School Road. And then just an image of a community garden in Massachusetts. So to elaborate a little bit more on the concept of the path that would connect the rail trail to the school complex, this obviously isn't something that necessarily involves the Nashua Street extension parcel. However, the Pleasant Street parcels are of, prime interest here in this regard. And the parcels for Pleasant Street couldn't entirely complete the path in and of themselves, but they would be critical links for making such a connection. And so National Grid owns the land that's directly adjacent to the rail trail, so we would need to work with them to either get fee ownership or an easement to be able to cross that property. And then we would need to work with additional landowners to get across either this area or this area to be able to access the school complex. But I think that this is the most significant opportunity that exists in this area for the town, that we would have the greatest interest in trying to, to purchase some of the land of the Pleasant Street area, Pleasant Street Extension, Riley Jane Farm area, to be able to ensure that this path could be constructed in the future. And, we realize that we'll have to work with additional landowners and that there would be fundraising involved and working with DCR and Mass DOT in partnership to eventually get the project designed and constructed. But it holds such great and significant potential for providing these kinds of opportunities for off-road connectivity for bicycling and pedestrian use. And I think that you would see a lot of people even utilizing this trail just to access the bike path, even if they weren't trying to get to and from school, because right now anyone who lives in the core downtown area here doesn't really have an easy access to the path without coming all the way down to is it Cambridge Street and then accessing the bike path at that intersection. So I think that we would really see a tremendous amount of use, and that is worthwhile to pursue. So in conclusion, I think that the recommendation would be to attempt to enter into negotiations with the property owners regarding potential acquisition or utilization through easement of the Riley Jane Farm areas before we give up our right of first refusal on Nashua Street. And if we could find a solution there, then we would be less interested in pursuing something on Nashua Street, because the same sorts of uses could happen at the Pleasant Street section that would be acquired as those that would take place at the Nashua Street area. However, you would have this significant increase in opportunity for the connectivity associated with the path that has been sketched out here. So it's all very preliminary, but really I think sheds light on the significant opportunities that the area presents to the town.
Questions? Comments?
I have some questions, but I'll wait for everybody else to speak, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure. So this block is just the Riley Jane? Or is that with the Nashua Street? I want to make,
Yep.
you got three
Yep.
boxes, I want to make sure I'm
Yep,
reading my
yep.
boxes
Okay,
right.
so
So that's for the two pieces.
okay, so this is the outlined in aqua here. That's the right of first refusal parcel that's
Okay,
up
so that's the one that was
before
in
the town
oval.
right now.
Okay.
Yep, that was
All
an
right.
oval. The orange is outlining all of the Riley Jane and Nashua Street Extension area.
Just want to make sure I'm reading all the.
And again, I'm sorry that the alignment is not better on that delineation.
What would be the, I'm sorry, Gary, I
Very
changed my
good.
mind. What would be the benefits of having access to the bike path in the middle for the town, say from Washington Street?
Okay, so to actually make the connection?
Yeah.
Okay, so the bike path to the school is of primary interest. So if we could connect, right here, there's a path that most of the Rosewood neighborhood uses to access the rail trail. So if we would formalize that path, that allows anyone who lives here and, even up in here along Groton School Road to be able to access, to get to school primarily off-road, or at least half of the way off-road. So it provides a really significant safe route to school option, as well as I described, just allowing residents in this area to travel up this way to access the bike path rather than to go back down south, if they're heading north on the bike path. There's a real resurgence and tremendous amount of interest in being able to be mobile just by bike or foot, pedestrian activity alone. And so I think that, particularly for bicyclists that can travel, greater distances with less amount of time, being able to run errands in Groton or something like that is not unreasonable. And we do have, a fair number of people who do ride their bike in to be able to take the train, and likewise people who might live up even in these reaches who would connect to the bike path to be able to get downtown, take the train, use the downtown businesses and things like that as well. So,
And you
again,
mentioned easements through National Grid. Have you ever dealt with National Grid?
not firsthand, but
Oh.
I
Okay.
have at work had lots of opportunities. I'm currently working.
And I didn't mean that to be sarcastic.
But
I'm just saying
I'm currently
that.
working on an Eversource project where they're saying we would welcome
Different animal,
recreational.
but,
yeah. So it is, and I believe that that they have been contacted regarding this particular proposal and said that they wouldn't comment without having an actual plan. So, but it's something that we could try and pursue, that's for sure. And I think that they might be more interested in actually a fee sale than an easement potentially, because then they just don't have to deal with that they would have an easement on the parcel. As
Well,
opposed to-
I see liability issues rising,
Right.
red flags everywhere there with that, but
Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
for us to be able to acquire a stretch of it, like a small stretch
Mhm.
of it, would maybe be in better interest for them than, and that they would have the easement then rather than the other way around.
Janice, you have
I think I'm set for the moment.
something? Okay.
Yeah.
Robert, have something?
Oh, yeah.
no one else wants to speak.
Mr. Chairman, just a clarifying question on Ms. Sudameyer's presentation, and I know you want to open it up to other questions.
Good.
Beth, you said in conclusion, your recommendation, you said in concluding that the board or the town should enter into, can you restate your,
Okay,
just so
yep,
I'm clear?
Yep, so that I would suggest trying to negotiate with the landowners regarding a portion of the Riley Jane Farm Pleasant Street Extension area while we still have the option for Nashua Street, so that if Pleasant Street wouldn't work out, we'd be able to consider Nashua Street in isolation. But the greater priority, in my opinion, and that of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, would be to be able to facilitate the potential multi-use path connectivity between the rail trail and the school in the future.
Okay.
And thus, the Riley Jane Farm Pleasant Street area is of more interest.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, thank you, Ben. Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank Max from William Street. If the board does not come to a black and white final decision tonight, this has an opportunity to open the discussion to another option to acquire to preserve the property at relatively short money. I have completely unconnected with this hearing, I have a spot, the chairman of the Community Preservation Committee has given me a place on their agenda for the 7th of next month to discuss this. My property I had in mind was a house lot in East Main Street, but this has potential to be much more influential for our town. The idea is not to buy the property outright, but instead to purchase development rights, which now the developer, prospective developer, would sell those development rights for some cost approximating the profits he might anticipate from the development, saving himself all the problems of developing it and uncertainties in marketing and so forth, and maybe even garnering some warm fuzzies from the people nearby who would prefer to see the property undisturbed. So, assuming that the CPC takes the idea seriously next month, early next month, and likes the idea, I would like to ask whether Mr. Moore would be willing to at least consider the concept of selling development rights as opposed to the whole property, if selling the whole property is unpleasant for him. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Bonnie?
Bonnie Tillotson, 15 Oak Ridge Drive, and a member of Conservation Commission. So there is, I guess this is a question for the board, is would there be a potential to transfer the option, the right of first refusal option to a nonprofit, say like Audubon? I mean, there's many of them in Massachusetts, because it is a pretty significant parcel of land, and it could be used, as Beth described, as open space for rec, for a nature center, conservation, gardens, and such. And so that would be a question for you guys in terms of transferring that
But
option.
we can check that out.
Do we, I mean, in my opinion, is the town willing to give up rights to the state in our own town?
That's
on
another
property?
question, right.
Because I'm not. I mean, it's our property, or whoever ends up being. I don't really like relinquishing rights to the state. And as we heard with Mark with water, I mean, they could basically come in and say, this is what you got to do, and if you don't do it, here you go.
It wouldn't be the state outright, it would be probably a nonprofit that would be
National
interested in.
Heritage, Audubon, yeah, no, I understand,
right,
and I've
right.
seen some properties do this, and I
Right,
know they
right.
have some
Right.
incredible restrictions, and I guess I bring up the Kohler Place property that, at the end of Wright Road, that came up 2 years ago for sale, that for some reason didn't get bought, and that is National Heritage land that borders that, and no one
It's
seems.
a very limited portion of that property is national heritage.
Yes, so,
It's pretty pristine over there.
it's beautiful, yeah.
But the town did try to acquire that.
Yeah, they tried, yeah, and I think that the person trying to sell it tried to make a very good faith effort to sell to the town. I just don't know what happened. No, I'll save my closing for the end, I'm sorry.
Right, and then just, and lastly, you know, based on experience and sort of what I've seen sort of, you know, throughout life, is that if a parcel is lost, there's no future for the town to do anything with it in the future, right? So if we had a use for it 10 years from now, it's lost
I agree.
forever.
I would add that you could say that about Pingree Hill 10 years ago, and quite honestly, I think that's the
Right.
best thing that's happened to this town in the last 25 years, is
Right.
the influx of new people and you know.
I wouldn't argue with that, but I would argue that you don't want to have the whole town developed. You want some open space, you want, you know, you want open space for future of the children that live here, because you want kids who grow up here to come back here because they love, you know, they love certain aspects about the town, right?
I couldn't agree more. I'm just,
So,
yep,
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
If I could just elaborate on that, I apologize because I meant to say this earlier, but that's exactly right. And there was a comment made at one of your recent board meetings about, you know, we don't want to save every last tree, and I completely agree with that as well. We just have to realize that we're a very small geographic town with less than 10 square miles of area to work with, and that we are rapidly approaching build-outs. The decisions that we make now about land use are permanent, and we don't have that many open space parcels with which to work anymore. So I think it is really prudent that we do take these opportunities seriously and think 10, 20 years down the road about what we might want to do with an area like this. And again, when you have something like a parcel like this so close to the school and the highest density residential area in town and downtown businesses and everything, to be able to use that at some point in the future for a community service of some type would really be quite ideal. So thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for allowing me to make an additional comment.
Okay, Beth, thanks. Bill? Nobody?
If I may, Calvin Moore, I guess there's a couple things. Has Beth talked to the people that have the path from the Rosewood area over to the railroad? That's a question for
Right.
Beth.
Yeah.
Have you?
Not yet, and so there would be other options, but I know they're probably not happy with the active use and the condition of it now either. I'm not sure, but I think it's a conversation that we should have.
Okay, and further on, I guess, Beth, I gotta commend you for all your hard work that you've done, and you've really done your homework on this, and it's a marvelous job. The only question is, on the parcel that's involved here is 4.6 acres, and the yellow dots that you want to put the trail on, hypothetically, does not touch that parcel, so I'm really not sure it's germane to this issue. The other one is that on the north yellow line, and I've dealt a lot with conservation boards throughout the town, that would probably take you 2 to 3 years to get any rights to come through that, the wetlands that are involved in that parcel. That's a whole different ball of wax. National Grid, different ball of wax. I really don't care who writes the check. I think Riley Jane Farm has been brought up here tonight. That's really not on the picture, and I know there's about 90 acres down there. I don't care who writes the check. Don't get me wrong. It's just I'm getting to a point in my life now that our family has held that land for 150 years, and I got less than 20 to go, so yeah, do I want to leave a legacy in town here? Sure I do. So I really don't care who writes the check, but does the town have the money to buy the land? That's the issue, and I gotta get the highest and best use for it. I have an offer on the table in my briefcase now that's well north of the appraisal. So would I go out and get another appraisal to protect my interest and my family's interest? Absolutely I would. There's no question about that. So, and I think Beth has done a lot of work. I've talked to Beth on that sheet, and I told her the other day, and she understands that. It's the 11th hour, and something's got to happen with this land. And I've held on to it for long enough, and I got to make a decision here what I want to do with the property. You know, I'm sorry, Gary. You know, and there's a tremendous amount of acreage too that we still own that we aren't doing anything with, and we don't plan on doing anything with until I'm long gone. But so that's the open spaces that our families live in.
21 years.
2 years in diapers and 19 rounds. So yeah. So that's the problem I've got. So yeah, there's a lot of land that we're being left here.
So that's what you need the money for.
The diapers.
Anybody else? Questions?
Surprised.
Robert, where do we stand after?
So, Mr. Chair, through to the board in terms of just some final points pertaining to this. Yes, so I do appreciate all the work that Beth has done to echo sort of what Calvin has said. I think one of the things when he said about it being the 11th hour, we have been in a reactive position since the beginning with Nashua Street. So we have convened the 61 working group. We met last week. We had a very positive meeting to focus on putting together a whole comprehensive plan to deal with 61 land and other of these opportunities in the future, including internal mechanisms for appraisal, how to activate the appraisal, putting together an internal database that prioritizes all of these lands and so forth, so that we can be proactive moving forward, because I think everybody agrees the research shows that build-out is fast approaching. With respect to this particular issue, Mr. Chair, as procedurally, the letter to convert was submitted on May 24th of 2016. Under the statute, the town had 30 days to do the appraisal, as the board is aware, and with the summer schedule and so forth, we wouldn't have met that. The owner and his counsel agreed with the town to do an extension on the appraisal, for which the town does appreciate. We did the appraisal in good faith, like I mentioned with Mr. Boudreau. The appraised amount came back at $535,000. As the board is aware, procedurally, the owner has a right to either accept that appraisal or to offer another appraisal, or to challenge that appraisal, which I don't want to speak for the owner, but I think he indicated that in his interest to be looking to do that. So in terms of next steps, it'd be 120 days from May the 24th total. We did have the extension from the time of the appraisal. It puts us roughly around September 24th. In other words, time on the statutory timetable that we're all aware of is going to run out quickly. So how the board wants to proceed, I mean, there's going to be a need very, very soon for some kind of definitive decision as far as how to move forward. And I can appreciate, that's why I asked a clarifying question about negotiating with the owner on other land and so forth. I mean, that again that's something that isn't necessarily mandated per se. I mean, it would be up to whether the owner would be willing to enter into those type of negotiations. So, and again, finally, I mean, just looking at the town's accounts, in one of the things that the working group will be working on, I think it's difficult, it's challenging for everybody, is that the price tag, assuming just for the sake of argument, you accept the town's appraisal at $535,000, is a considerable amount of money to consider.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's, you know, you look in the future and everything else, and we are close to build out. And you brought up Pingree Hill, which has brought in, I don't know, $500,000 a year in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna have that opportunity in 10 or 20 years to have that new money coming in. So you have to balance that, have to balance the cost where I don't know where you're gonna come up with the money. We have a project in Depot Square that we don't know if that's gonna overrun. I mean, that money is 10 years old for a project, a 10-year-old project.
Right.
So what's it gonna cost now? Hopefully it won't overrun, it'll be fine. But, I mean, it comes to a point where you know, you get so much of a buy-in, you have no choice but to go further with it. So these are things we have to balance going forward. You know, the part of the open space, I mean, I was part of the Tooker property that we took. Kohler Place, I wanted to grab that too. And, you know, there's been other open space issues that we've decided not to. Just there was one up behind my house that somebody wanted to sell that wasn't really, I forget who it was. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, it's nice that we started this, had this conversation, we had the meeting, and we get everything together so we're more proactive than reactive. I mean, Robert's right, so it's been boom, boom, boom. So, do you want to schedule for the next meeting?
I mean, so the decision, I mean, I'm sorry.
Good.
I'm sorry, what did you want to schedule for the next meeting? I apologize.
A decision on this?
I thought we were going to make a decision on it tonight based on, but that's, I mean, it's your meeting, so that's up to you, but I'm
nothing.
I don't know how much longer, and I'd like to hear from Janice too, but just to add to what you said,
Yeah.
I'm looking at it as someone who has developed property. I think it's extremely, that appraised at $500,000. We bought a parking lot in a brick building. These are eight buildable lots? Is that what it is? 8 buildable lots in the town of Ayer alone are, let's go low value. 120, 30, 40,000 a piece per lot. That puts you at $1 million right there for the property. Let's say the town does acquire it. Obviously, if Mr. Moore would get another appraisal, because he'd be a fool not to. No, don't take that the wrong way. Now the town's got to get into town council, and we are in the process of going back and forth. And I just don't see the need. I mean, Beth had some great ideas, but who's paying for this? So we do these walking paths. I mean, it's not Janice paying for it, you know, a donation or somebody else. The town's going to pay for it. Not only that, it is in Chapter 61, but there is still tax revenue coming off the land now at a reduced rate. If the town owns it, where does that tax revenue come from? There isn't any. It's gone, correct? So, I mean, I appreciate open space. you know, I've been pushing the expansion and ideas down at Peroni Park for 3 years, along with Mary on Capitol, about, you know, adding maybe a community center down there, walking paths, stuff that Mr. Thomas has pushed as well, land we own. So I just don't see where this ties in, and maybe there's some talk that maybe the developer would be interested in adding something, a walking path or something, but that would be something that he would negotiate, you know, beyond the town. So I just think that if this was Wagon Road,
Yeah.
there'd be nobody here, because it's way over there, and it's beautiful down there. You should come down there and walk. Plenty of woods and open space, town-owned property, but I just don't see the benefit in this for the town at all, at this point too, financially.
Frank?
In answer to the question, where can the money come from, I'll make the observation that the town of Ayer is leaving in excess of, well in excess of $2 million net on the table every year that we don't resume our municipal jurisdiction of our land that's currently on the Devon's Regional Enterprise Zone.
That doesn't help this right
That
now.
helps today.
But
I don't disagree with, Frank, I don't disagree with you, but,
And that really won't even come up again until really 2032, because that's when mass development says they're gonna leave, so it's
Oh,
gonna be,
don't trust me.
you know, but it doesn't happen today,
You don't
so.
have to wait for that.
First of all, very nice presentation.
yes, Beth.
Very nice presentation, and I guess my problem is that I'm trying to see both sides of the coin here. The one side of the coin is that's an awful lot of money. Whatever is to be done on it, if we were to acquire of it, would obviously take years, more money. I think that there'll be a lot of people, because as we know, and we all do it, every single one of us does it, including myself, including them, we all have selecting hearings, so all some people are going to hear is $535,000 for a walking trail. So that's going to cause a lot.
On the low end.
On the low end.
Yeah.
On the low end. I'm all for open space, and I'm very happy to know that in 25 years, still leaving you 2 years in diapers, that there is still other property left for the future to look at, and I think by then the town would have their ducks more in a row as far as right of first refusal. So but I don't, where's the money coming from? I don't see, especially after what we just spent at the last town meeting, and then we'd be asking them to spend that money again. I just don't see it happening, and I not seeing a real. I like the ideas, I like the thoughts that's going behind this and everything, but I don't see anything that would benefit any of us right away to justify it. And like you said, and he's already indicated, he'd want to get another appraisal. So you're looking at more.
So, does anybody have a motion? Wait a minute, let me get.
Sorry.
Mr.
Instead of
Gleason.
guessing what the taxpayers might do, maybe give the opportunity to do it, bring it to a town meeting and let them vote. You're making guesses based on a handful of people in a room, what 300 people might do at a town meeting.
Yeah, we don't have the time though. It's gotta be 120 days.
We lose our
September
right
24th.
of first refusal if we were to follow that path.
Yeah.
Runs out of time.
Beth?
It requires an agreement between the two parties, so you don't have to, within 120 days. So if the owner would be willing to wait for a decision at town meeting, which I understand, that's probably not,
Right.
a likely scenario, but that ultimately is the way that it would work out, and so it would be contingent on a vote of town meeting.
So I think going forward, it'd be nice to get everything ducks in a row. And if you want to queue it up, you can, instead of waiting. If we want to borrow money in a trust. I mean, then that can be done.
Yeah. And we can certainly do more outreach with the land trusts that might be considered partners in such an endeavor as well. And that's why this parcel is somewhat unique in terms of the Chapter 61 enrolled parcels, because it has less significant real endangered species wildlife conservation value. And so some of those land trust partners in the state are less interested in this than they would be in some of the other areas. And so we don't have the benefit of being able to work with them on this parcel because it's not prime habitat and things like that. But it is unique in terms of the other values that I described, in terms of, walking distance to population density in the rail trail and the school system. And the options for, like I've spoken to some of the teachers that do summer programs at school, and they said they use the rail trail in the summer, and it's really inconvenient for them to have to walk all the way, or ride bikes all the way downtown, and then access it, and then if they would have a more direct route, and same for after-school programs in any sort of a nature center or community program, that proximity is something that's really ideal and unique to these parcels, because there aren't, the opportunities that there are.
Mr. Chairman, just one last moment. If you look at that bottom orange line that goes horizontal, that big
This
square,
one?
yeah, the big square parcel underneath that,
Yeah.
I
This
own
one?
that.
That?
Yeah, I own that, and I'm leaving that as open space. So let's not anybody think that I'm not willing to give something here. I'm just exercising whatever we can legally by law in talking about the appraisal in 120 days. That's all directed by law. But that square parcel down the bottom there, I'm leaving that as open space.
So this one here stays at
Don't
open
touch.
space.
It'll disappear.
That one right there.
Yeah.
Staying as
Okay.
open
Which
space.
is right across from Page Hilltop, correct?
And I have access, on that parcel, I have access onto Washington Street. And if you look at, I used to call it the rooming house, but we used to be a school teacher, right on the left-hand side, there's like a dirt driveway. That's the access that goes into that parcel. But I'm leaving that as open space.
So do you want to? Sounds pretty.
Yeah, no, just to back to what we said before, I agree with everything. I saw this happen in Littleton, and some of you weren't here at the last meeting, where one parcel was dangled out there in front of the town that got everybody to want to buy it, and the tree farm, which was much more valuable in my opinion down by the train station, snuck right under the radar and is now going to get 180 houses. There are parcels, and I'm not part of the committee, but it was a good idea by everyone to look in the future and identify parcels that are advantageous for the town to own. I just don't think this is one of them, and I think if we could possibly handcuff ourselves if we knee-jerk reaction on this, where there might be a parcel that's so much more advantageous for the town to buy for whatever reason, and we can't afford it, or we can't do it, or, in that respect, so.
Well, yeah, because you're looking at, we're talking about 4.7 acres for this particular parcel. And he's just indicated here, he's gonna leave 9.5 acres as open space. And for all we know, 4 years from now, we could say, hey, you got right of first refusal. We've gotten our ducks in a row, and then we've got 9.5.
That's not Chapter 61 land.
I'm going to question that.
And I'm assuming, obviously if the National Grid thing, stuff like that, the right-of-ways, I deal with National Grid all the time on many different aspects, and it's, simply put it, hell. As Superintendent Wetzel could probably attest. So getting right-of-way through there, if you could do it, it would be fantastic. But I just don't think it's going to happen with the three of us sitting here.
All right, so do you want to make a vote tonight, or do you want to, not that another meeting's going to make a difference? But
No, I think we've held this process up. It's just been held up too long. But I'd leave that up to you guys. I'm perfectly comfortable making a vote tonight.
Did you raise your hand? I saw him.
So does anybody have a motion?
guess what would it be, waive the right, I make, what is the parcel actually, what is it called?
Parcel
MO19?
MO19, tax parcel MO19.
Yeah, MO19.
Wait a minute, I gotta get my packet back.
MO19, sorry, I don't have my packet on that page. Waive, right?
Yeah.
I make a motion that the town and the Board of Selectmen waive their right of first refusal and do not, through the guidelines of Chapter 61, do not purchase the property listed as tax parcel 5019. Outlined or called the Nashua Street Extension.
Second.
Moved in second. Do you have any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for their work. Close the public hearing.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing?
Second?
Moved in second and to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mark?
Nobody from the planning board here tonight, huh?
No.
So, sorry, this
Is it
slide
gonna work?
got mixed. It will, but this, one of these.
Which
slides-
one? The only slide I'm talking about, you got out of order?
That's the only one out of order. What number is it?
I'm surprised it wasn't.
Doesn't even look right.
Yeah, because, that's another thing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I can always look back.
Yeah.
That's number 6. That's all right.
Alright, sorry.
I know. I know.
And there was a lot of.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Alright, so there's this.
Is that it? First one?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right.
What if there would have been
Are we gonna get started or we close?
No, go ahead, get started.
I wouldn't like it, though.
So, thank you, everyone. As you may recall, both myself and the town engineer have been before you talking about a couple of bridge issues we have in town. One is the Shirley Street Bridge and the West Main Street culvert. So we have an engineering firm that's working on the design, and we're at the point now where we are, we've done sort of the preliminary, looked at options, and are going to just give you an update on where we are and where we go from here. So I have with me Bill Mertz from World Tech Engineering and Aaron LaChance from Tanner Associates. So I'll give you a little overview of what we'll talk about, the project goals and objectives, existing conditions, design considerations, alternatives, funding, and where do we go from here. So this phase of the project, the objectives were to identify the alternatives for repair, replacement, or rehabilitation of Shirley Street and West Main Street bridges. One thing we tend to call the West Main Street the culvert because there is a bridge that goes over the railroad tracks, and this bridge is, most people probably that drive down West Main Street don't even know there's a bridge there. It's more of a box culvert over the Nonacoshes Brook. Then engineering study and analysis of viable alternatives in combination, and prepare a preliminary design report so that we can decide what's the best alternative for the town. And why do we need to look at alternatives? Well, number one is cost. Number two is it could be, the final solution could be a pretty big inconvenience to a lot of people.
I'm sorry, the reporter just gets up and leaves the meeting at 8:30. Apparently it's not as exciting for them.
Deadline. No, I just talked to her.
Deadline, deadline my ass.
I just said the same thing.
Yeah, this isn't as exciting.
Sorry, it just frustrates me. I'm sorry, Mark, because this is
So anyway,
important.
you know, and as Selectman Hillman knows, when we came to the capital planning committee to talk about this, first primarily with Shirley Street was, you know, well, can't we just tear down the bridge and not rebuild it? But then we said, well, you got another bridge that's going to fall down also. So we need to have a plan for how we're going to do this and how we're going to afford it. Let's see. So, and I'll breeze through these pretty quickly because we before presented the all the condition assessments, but Aaron's company did they did a study back in a year ago and looked at the actual condition of West Main Street. You know, Dan and I had looked at it and said, gee, this is in pretty tough shape, but we really need a bridge guy to look at it. So it's stone masonry and concrete. It's been modified over the years. There's some scour at the upstream inlet end of it. There's a lot of loss of mortar. You can see there's a big crack there in the abutment. It's not aligned properly with the brook, so the brook kind of bends as it goes through. And there's a lot of utilities that hang underneath it. Some of them, I think I remember I had one that looked like it was supported by a block of wood under there.
Just wedge it up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Up above, we've got the
It's great
existing
from the top.
curb-to-curb pavement with this 35 feet. There's no eastbound sidewalk. We've got some crosswalk issues and some ADA wheelchair ramp compliance issues, and there's a lack of bicycle accommodations. One of the things that this relates to, as well as the previous discussion about the open space and the trails, is, you know, we're now a complete streets community, and we are just had our kickoff a couple weeks ago for our complete streets study. So these are some of the things we're looking at. Where do we have sidewalks? Where do we need sidewalks? Where do we not have ADA compliance? Where do we have trails? And how do we best use funding that the state's going to give us to fix these situations?
Mailmen don't have any place to walk except for the street. Very unsafe.
They should wear those orange vests like we do. Shirley Street is, the maximum span's 11 and a half feet. Again, stone and masonry abutments. It closed in 2014. We had a washout. When Mass DOT came in and inspected it, they basically condemned it because of the condition of the steel, the abutments, and the erosion. And so either replacement or removal is necessary. And above there, we've got, it's inconsistent pavement width. We do allow pedestrians through there, but it's not really, when it's open, it doesn't have any pedestrian accommodations. We also, I think it's slowed down some, but you get a lot of delivery trucks that drive down there because their GPS tells them they can go that way, and then they have to turn around in people's driveways or back up the road. And one of the other factors with this that we're kind of waiting on, our water main that used to go through there has been abandoned, so we have 2 dead ends. So we do need to eventually figure out what we're going to do with connecting the water through there. So these were some of the design considerations, and I'll turn it over to the consultants to talk about. But we looked at the structures, service life, environmental compliance issues, utility accommodation, bridge aesthetics, roadway improvements, traffic management, which is going to be a big issue, and then based on those, what are the alternatives and what are the costs and what are the benefits, and how do we make a decision on where we go from here. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Mertz.
Thank you, Mark. Just to give a summary over the past couple of months, what we've done a full topographic survey out there on both bridges, the approach roadways, the channel beneath the bridges, in order to have information to do our engineering analysis. We've done geotechnical investigations, we've done resource area delineations for the regulatory permitting effort that would ensue as part of the design. And all those efforts have come together into our engineering analysis that's covered all these design considerations that myself and Aaron are going to walk you through right now, and then let you know where that's leading to, and ultimately how we're going to make a decision on what the town's preferred alternative will be.
So typically when we look at a bridge, either a new crossing or a replacement crossing, hydraulics and environmental considerations are pretty much the top of the list. Those two drive the size of the structure, both the span length and the height of the opening. So we've looked at that at this crossing. We've looked at some environmental considerations, Mass DOT or Mass Stream Crossing Regulations look at the openness ratio, which is the aspect ratio of the height to the span length. Looked at the stream crossing guidelines, which more relate the required span length or the ideal span length to the bankful width, which is the edge of stream, and also downstream of the West Main Street Bridge is a Biomap 2 zone, which is it's a special environmental designation for aquatic organism passage and migration. So that zone ends up at the downstream end of West Main Street culvert. So we need to evaluate how those environmental regulations related to that might impact span length. But we think we've converged on a span length that will work both from hydraulics and environmental considerations, because hydraulics really aren't an issue here, in that the National River really basically backs up to the project site. So it's not so much that there's so much water coming down from upstream. It's really backs up through. So you can make a 100-foot span length, and it's really not going to improve the how much water passes through. So it's good that we won't have to make a really big bridge, but we really can improve the hydraulic situation there from making a bigger bridge.
I'm sorry, Mark, you had mentioned the hydraulics. Is it the angle that it comes in and hits the bridge, where it comes down?
It's a little bit of everything. It's, Aaron can probably explain it a little better, but it's, Q equals area, Q is flow, area times the velocity. So as you squeeze, as you make something
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to leave it to the engineer.
It's harder for the water to get through, and as you put bends in, it starts scouring.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it wears on that, probably one side more than the other.
If it hydraulically wasn't big enough, you might get water backing up behind the bridge. It would act like a dam with a spillway. And then that affects the structural design and also what's happening upstream.
Yep.
You may have, there's not a lot of people upstream, but you may have some people with wet backyards and things like that. Is that?
Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm a pipe guy, not a bridge guy, but it's all the same.
Yeah, misalignment causes higher velocity to the stream around one bend, and the scour that we see there now, and it's very evident that the crack that was shown early in the presentation is a result of the soil underneath that corner of the bridge being lost
and pounded over.
Settles. Utilities are very tricky on the West Main Street crossing. There is everything in that hydraulic opening, including a strange wooden box that holds something. A vampire, maybe? I don't know.
It's the air aqueduct.
So we're still working on how to accommodate the water in the sewer. We'll have to talk with Mark on some preferences there. We really don't like to have those utilities in the hydraulic opening. If you have a large event with debris coming down, they can get lodged into those pipes and then cause a backup. So we need to talk about some potential options. We don't really have the profile on the roadway to get that sewer within the bridge, so we'll have to get creative there.
I'm sorry, did you say under the bridge? Can it go?
Sewer's tough.
Well, sewer can't because it's gravity, but...
Well, it can. We're looking at the potential for doing what's called a siphon. Yeah. So it's the two manholes on either end. The manhole on the upstream end fills up and forces the flow down through.
So it pushes it down. Okay.
But you need to have a certain head differential, so that might only work if you reconstruct a lot of sewer upstream. And Mark, we haven't talked about this yet, so I don't want to put ideas in Mark's out here that maybe he isn't in support of, but that's one thing we considered. So we need to figure that out. And overhead is also tricky in that we can't use cranes to erect the bridge components because of those overhead utilities. So temporary relocation is likely an offset from where those are now. And it not as difficult as the sewer, but dealing with the utility companies is always tricky. So have to do some early utility coordination to make sure that doesn't hold us up in the process.
One thing, I don't know if you can go back, Bill. I just want to point out. I know the board has seen this before, but I thought it was pretty interesting. On West Main Street, the decking is, you look up and it's these little steel slats, and it's old steel rails from the rail yard that they butted up together and then poured the deck on top of it. I'd never seen something like that. I know that Aaron had seen that.
Good
but
steel.
It's, you know, and it's a rail town, so you never know where the railroad technology is going to show
cement
up.
railroad ties in there somewhere. They had to get rid of those at some point.
We'll take one of those old rails and put it in the Air Museum when we get done.
So when looking at replacement structures, thinking of aesthetics are important. You may not know that you're driving over a bridge now, but there's some things we can do to really dress up the replacement structure. Concrete form liner makes the abutments look like granite blocks. Maybe some nice powder-coated steel bridge rail or some sort of concrete bridge rail. Haven't narrowed down exactly what we'll use, but Mark indicated that aesthetics would be important. This is a main corridor, so we'll certainly be considering that design.
So talking about roadway improvements, as Mark had mentioned, the elements we're going to be looking at are elements that will qualify or in compliance with your complete streets policy. So we're looking at providing pedestrian and bicycle accommodations. Been out there several occasions, and there are a fair amount of bicyclists that use that route.
It's a very pedestrian-friendly, bicycle-friendly, I shouldn't say friendly, but active community year-round.
And there really aren't accommodations on both sides. As Mark said, there's the sidewalk on the eastbound, stops short of the bridge, crosses over the mid-block crossing, it continues down on the west side. And also, there's no sidewalk from the bridge all the way to Union Street. So there's definitely a disconnect and a discontinuity between the pedestrian connections. Something also we're looking into as part of the Complete Streets Prioritization Plan. We'll also be looking to upgrade the drainage system, the stormwater system that's out there. We will be making some minor changes vertically to the profile of the roadway and hence the bridge, which will require some drainage system improvements. Also be looking at roadway safety features such as bridge rails and guardrails, currently some substandard treatments out there. And also looking at upgraded signs and pavement markings. And that's more so on the West Main Street Bridge. The Shirley Street Bridge being a lower classification of roadway, a local street. Depending on the alternative that we choose, if we choose to reinstate that bridge, we're looking at providing consistent cross-section, maybe providing pedestrian accommodations. On the flip side, if we decide to do nothing or close the bridge and remove it, which we'll get into that a little bit later, looking at some treatments to that roadway as opposed to just having the Jersey barriers there.
Please.
The bridge and culvert would be removed, probably looking at stream restoration and some sort of safety treatment, more appropriate dead-end treatment to Shirley Street.
Just to go back, I'm sure Mark filled you in at capital, the plan, our thought was, instead of spending the money there, this is before we knew West Main Street was in dire condition, was to make that a walking, so people could walk, bike across it, invest minimal, get rid of the Jersey barriers, make it safe and however not accessible. But as Mark had pointed out, you may need a way around West Main Street for a while.
With that segue, so obviously traffic accommodation during construction is important. So there's really three scenarios here. The first being, say we decided to do work on Shirley Street and West Main Street. We need an alternative route, and that would be through Bishop Street and McPherson, where we know we've got some issues with some flooding, obviously a portion of which goes through Devon's, and also we have a restriction on the clearance, so larger vehicles will not be able to get under that railroad bridge. And also that's a more circuitous route. So options 2 and 3, the second one is the closure of West Main Street, and that would be to accommodate a full replacement of the West Main Street culvert or bridge. And that would be the cheaper, relatively cheaper, less expensive than a phased construction on West Main Street. So if we were to do that, though, that would require some rehabilitation work or repair work or replacement of the bridge on Shirley Street. So we could detour traffic to Shirley Street and get the traffic totally off West Main Street. It would be quicker, easier, and less expensive construction for West Main Street.
But you're adding the construction to the other bridge, Shirley Street.
Correct. So scenario 3 is to say we wanted to do nothing or remove that structure. We'd be looking at phased construction of West Main Street, which would mean building basically half the bridge at a time, allowing probably alternating one-lane traffic on West Main Street, and then build the second half. So longer construction duration, more difficult construction, and more costly. So Those are really the three options, and they're going to tie directly into what alternative is ultimately chosen for both structures.
Just a quick question, maybe you haven't looked this far in detail, but if you went with scenario 3 with the phase construction of West Main, closing it one lane at a time, do you have any idea what the traffic backup would be on that? Or have you not looked at that yet?
We haven't gotten to, I mean, we'll have vehicle counts, we'll be able to estimate how far back it would go. A lot of structures like this, particularly if there's a closure, a lot of it's trying to be done on weekends or at night, particularly if you're completely closing the structure.
I just ask because, as we all know, it's a huge thoroughfare during peak hours.
The daily traffic through there, I think, is 8,000 vehicle trips per day.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you're doing construction work, as we've seen on other roads around town, people find alternate routes. But you still have people that are going to have to drive that way. And
Is Shirley Street, can that accommodate, I mean, obviously anything, but I mean, is that a viable option? Coming down and then either going by St. Mary's or taking a left and then back out? I mean, I know it's, obviously
that's
not ideal.
That's an issue that, it's, the people who live there obviously aren't going to like to have 8,000 vehicle trips a day going by their house. But public safety can get through and local residents and probably limited traffic. Like when we did some detours for East Main Street, we wouldn't let any of the tractor trailers go down Fletcher Street.
Yep.
No,
over in by the house I'm working on in Westford, they closed Route 40 for 3 weeks, and that was problematic to say the least. But with the McPherson Bishop, I mean, I'm assuming we could. I mean, it's not great, but truck traffic could use the truck route through Devens and come back out on the Jackson Road.
You have issues with that scenario, with
the bridge.
1 with the clearance. Yeah.
So
I don't think a fire truck can get under there.
Okay. Is the Shirley Street Bridge, and I'm just throwing out ideas, adequate, or can be shored up enough where emergency vehicles can get through it, at least? I mean, that would be my ultimate concern, an ambulance, delayed because of...
For a temporary condition,
yeah.
You're talking about?
I just hate to see do 2 bridges. That one really has not impacted anybody in the 3 years it's been closed. But it may have to. But my point was, is there any quick fixes shoring up, at least so fire, ambulance can get through there, as opposed to going all the way around?
I would, you guys might want to chime in, but I would say that would be pretty tough to do because the abutments are in pretty tough shape, and to get the abutments fixed up, you'd have to beef up, take off the deck or do some stuff on the deck, so you're kind of almost starting over.
Short answer is no, we couldn't, it's beyond rehab, but we did look or have considered the installation of a temporary structure, meaning you do some new abutments or new temporary support behind the existing abutments and then put something over it. If you're only using that for emergency access vehicles, it could be less robust, less wide, lower cost, and obviously not open to...
Is a box culvert a possibility? To rip it out, put the culvert in, pave over it, and then maybe make it a...
That is a scenario that we're looking at. It's an 18-foot span box culvert, which is really the biggest that you can get in there. It's a lot bigger than what's there now, but in terms of a good balance between meeting the stream crossing regulations and the site constraints, and it goes fast, they're relatively inexpensive.
We're used to relatively around here at the table, so...
We have a thing on funding at the end. There's some good news.
With that.
This slide rehashes just a little bit where we are. And I think everyone understands the West Main Street Bridge is in need of complete replacement. We looked at it last year. There are some short-term fixes that you could do to get you a year or 2 years, but really you need to plan for replacement. You need to move forward with that. You can do that 2 ways. You can close the road completely via either going through Shirley Street or potentially an alternate route, or you use phase construction, which is building in halves, which is it takes longer. It's typically more expensive. So those are the 2 options for West Main Street. Shirley Street, you have 3 options. You can also do a complete replacement. If you're going to do that, it would make a lot of sense to do that first. That becomes your detour route during West Main Street construction. You could do the temporary bridge that I just suggested, or maybe some form of means of temporary access or emergency access maybe, or there is the do-nothing alternative, which is you just don't touch it and do whatever West Main Street.
Is that Hazen Road in Shirley, where it's just the bridge to nowhere with Jersey barriers and trees falling over it?
Right. You won't like that.
No.
It's not attractive option. It's an
No.
option.
No.
So as part of our preliminary design report effort, and this is I'll say a sample or draft decision matrix. So we're going to put all our alternatives in this table. As you see in the first column, the West Main Street, there are really two options. As I was mentioned, the bridge needs to be completely replaced. So we're either looking at options or alternatives 1 and 2, which would be a phased construction, or options 3 and 4 would be a complete closure of West Main Street. Coupled with that, there's 4 alternatives for Shirley Street, just reading down: the complete removal with the stream restoration. There's the do-nothing alternative we just discussed. There's the box culvert, which you had mentioned, and then the temporary bridge with stream restoration, in combinations thereof. This isn't obviously finalized yet. We'll be looking at advantages and disadvantages, and we're currently working on narrowing down construction costs so that we'll be able to present at our next meeting with you. We'll be able to present this matrix with costs, and we can, the town at least has an informed decision to make with the information presented on how to best move forward. So again, this is just a draft. Right now, you just get a sense of the number of dollar signs, being 1 being the cheapest and 4 being the most expensive.
There's going to be a 5 and a 6 on there at some point.
Yeah. And you notice what's the do-nothing alternative for Shirley Street is not necessarily the least expensive overall, because that's going to require phased construction of West Main Street. So.
And for people at home, I mean, the state could come in at any time and say, we're going to inspect your bridge and shut it down. I mean, theoretically, right? I mean, they come in, do a bridge inspection, and a chunk falls down, and they say it's not safe, closed, right? And then tomorrow morning, we're...
And you're on Bishop and...
Yeah, we're yeah. And then things get a lot more expensive if we push it.
Yep.
That happened in Forge Village over by the mill there, and it was closed for 5 years because it was abruptly closed. So that's a problem.
Well, if that does happen, let's hope it doesn't.
No,
you can
it's my
replace
box
it pretty
cover.
quickly doing something like this, which is what we're converging on for an alternative for West Main Street, which is rigid frame. You can go up to the 28-foot span length that we're looking at there. It goes in quickly because those precast segments, they're fabricated off-site. They come to site, they're erected with a crane. Literally, you can have, once the footings are in, you can have all that done in a day. So there's we haven't really looked hard at accelerated bridge construction, which is the new sort of the buzzword in our industry. It's the new sustainability, I guess. But this could happen in some cases. We do it as short as a couple weeks. So in a complete closure situation where you're potentially detouring through Shirley Street, it could be short duration. There's a cost premium with it, but...
I'm sorry.
Couldn't we detour it through Devon's?
Up Barnum?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, with the truck.
Yeah, you'd send trucks up that way.
Yeah.
Especially now with the new Jackson Road
Right.
Yeah.
connection through.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it stinks, but you know what?
It's
I don't care.
a lot, yeah.
I mean,
If you're coming up 2A, it's longer, because then you gotta go down Main Street, and hopefully by then we'll have East Main Street all dug up again.
well, I mean, maybe people find a new route.
Yeah, no, people figure it out,
Do you would you dam the brook? I mean, is that what would happen? You would basically do it in like this season where it's dry?
You wouldn't dam it. You would basically constrict the flow to a small area within the
Constrict
center.
it, or okay.
And then
So
you work on the outside of it. This year would be, this is a contractor's stream this year.
Sure.
Water diversion is very easy. Not so much Mark's stream, but just a couple photos here of looking at a completed rigid frame structure. The photo on the left has some of that form liner treatment I was explaining before. We didn't have those pipe penetrations in the wing wall because it would look better, but it sort of looks like some stone. The picture on the right doesn't have a form liner, but it does have a section of concrete rail. You can extend that off the bridge and dress it up a little bit, but that's an idea of what the completed structure might look like.
So from a roadway perspective, Mark had mentioned the existing roadway width is 35 feet. Shown here, just a conceptual rendering, is actually a foot narrower of pavement. It's actually 34 feet. It's two 12-foot travel lanes and two 5-foot designated bike lanes. So that's 34 feet. And then we've added a sidewalk on the eastbound side, continuous through Union Street. You just see the bike lanes are marked on the bridge, and then as we get off the bridge, we lose the bike lane designation. As part of the Complete Streets Prioritization Plan, we could be looking at Sharrow as a kind of a share the road type facility, so that the bicycles do have a designated spot to travel. We'd be doing ADA compliant wheelchair ramps at Union Street, for example. We may still have maybe crosswalk work at Union Street as well. And again, your limits start to creep up, but it's really taking advantage of the bridge replacement project and getting that roadway in compliance with the Complete Streets, and also puts you in a better position for funding a portion of this project, which we'll get to in a minute here. So as far as funding, many of you may have heard of the recently signed legislation by the Baker administration appropriating $50 million over the next 5 years for these local municipal bridges with spans under 20 feet, both of which these bridges are eligible. Mass DOT currently does not have a process for selecting the projects, allocating the money. They have, I believe, till the middle of September to identify what that process will be, and we can look into further how we get the town in a better position to be looking for that money. In addition, the Complete Streets funding is part of your prioritization plan. Portions of this project are eligible, extending the sidewalk, for example, ADA compliant wheelchair ramps, striping of the roadway to provide bicycle accommodations. If you're aware of that program, components of larger projects are eligible projects under that funding program. So between the small bridge program and the Complete Streets funding program, you've got some eligibility there to contribute to the cost of this project. As far as where we are, we're really at we're a little bit beyond the soliciting input stage. We've done some preliminary engineering analysis. We're here tonight to have any input that you may have. We're going to have a neighborhood public meeting sometime in September to get input from the neighborhood and the public. Working with Mark and his department and the utilities to identify what accommodations we need to make to keep those utilities in service. We'll be coordinating with environmental permitting agencies or regulatory authorities to figure out, as we move forward into design, what regulatory hurdles we'll need to address. We're in the engineering analysis evaluation stage now, drafting that decision matrix that I showed you earlier. So our next step, really after soliciting input from the public and yourselves, is to put together a draft preliminary design report, which will list out all the alternatives, and working together with the town, we'll come up with a preferred alternative. We'll present that meeting here to the select board, and then with your comments and input, we'll finalize that draft report. As far as scheduling, we're looking to schedule the public meeting sometime in September, with the draft preliminary design report sometime in October. Meet again with yourselves in November and look to have the final report submitted by late November. So that's kind of an overview of where we are and where we're going. So with that, take any questions.
And that schedule fits in with the capital planning. So we'll have a better idea what grants are available and what we need to raise and appropriate.
Well, along with the Complete Streets, when you signed that, when you and Dan got us involved, I mean, obviously knocking first at the door helps too, I'm assuming. Being there and being ready and prepared for the funding when they ever decide how they're going to administer it.
Right. Even the legislation that Baker signed, we can get our people involved, the state people involved in it.
Could we, theoretically make this I know there's a 24-hour project. Do you know what I mean, to expedite it? I know it costs more, construction rates and all that stuff, but instead of doing it from 7 to 5, 7 to 7. That's how they did 119 when that went down. And
I don't know if you remember, was it the Fast Five that they did on
Fast 14.
Oh, yeah.
14 every weekend.
Yeah.
They were doing a bridge a weekend. Now, the reason was they were getting huge bonuses.
No, absolutely,
And,
but,
so it cost more money, but I'll tell you.
It was all prefab.
I think a bonus is-
prefab, but it also, if they tried to do that with normal construction, they'd still be building the second one.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Just a thought, I mean, you know, and to try to offset the traffic nightmare. But like you said, Barnum Road is obviously an option.
It seems that, I know there's still some work to be done, but it seems that it's obviously, there's no question that West Main Street needs to be done. I mean, I don't need to
Mhm.
speak for everybody, but it's pretty clear, as a layperson, West Main Street has to be done. So I think the question is with respect to Shirley Street, and funding, of course, is a huge issue, don't get me wrong, but what is the ideal scenario in addressing Shirley Street? In other words, if we did nothing with Shirley Street, and I know there are aesthetic concerns that everybody has, if we just sort of cleaned up Shirley Street hypothetically and abandoned it, for lack of a better term, what would be potentially some long-term potential problems with doing that?
I think getting neighborhood input is important in that
I
decision,
agree.
but I don't think from an infrastructure point of view, there's any significant long-term issues, other than if you had a tanker truck turnover on West Main Street, you don't have a way around. Once you have that West Main Street reconstructed, you've got a pretty good structure for a long time, but if you have an emergency, you got an emergency.
But, I mean, is that any different than the trucks, you know, the helicopter that landed in front of my van last week on 495, where I sat for,
no.
3 hours? I mean, it
It's
happens.
the same
It-
thing, you could have it up the street from you on Westford Road
Yeah.
/ Sandy Pond Road.
Exactly.
And it just means now people gotta drive
I mean,
a long way around.
The chief's quick on his feet. I mean, they'll think of something. They open McPherson and Bishop, and I mean, it's not ideal, but,
We got Doug to fill the brook in with gravel and drive around it.
he'd move fast with that. I know he would. Yeah, because I know, just going back to, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the same thing, but on the capital plan, we kind of nixed the Shirley Street, and then Mark and Dan kind of stumbled upon this to some degree and kind of changed things, but I'd hate to be doing two bridges for the sake of getting one.
It's the cost.
It's the
Right.
cost.
I think once these guys have all the dollars better defined and the duration of the disturbance, I think we'll have a better idea. And I think,
Sure.
from and it'll be interesting to hear what the neighbors out there say. There was one woman who was very concerned about, because everybody turns around in her driveway, but she's kind of now saying, well, it's not that many people turning around in my driveway.
people
and
catch on after
kind
a
of
while.
nice not having cars driving by all the time. And I know on the other side of the bridge, the neighbor there likes it because her kids are safe walking on the street now.
Right.
So
And you also, we say the crossing path, but if you have a new West Main Street bridge, now we have a safe sidewalk and crossing path
it's
to
a
come right
safer,
around.
more public.
Yeah.
So you don't have people throwing stuff in the brook and horsing around in
Yeah.
people's neighborhoods.
Because I don't want to leave a bridge there. I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't want to leave Jersey barriers and, I mean, a fence. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, if you got rid of it, like Bill said, you'd have to make sure you had some accommodations for the end of the road and
Yeah.
some kind
Absolutely,
of
yeah.
stream restoration
Mhm.
project.
Yep.
And that obviously has a dollar sign attached to
Sure.
it too.
Sure.
So that's what they're putting
Do you have
together.
any other questions on Janice?
I'm just glad it's moving along
Yeah,
fast.
I mean,
and I like
when we
that.
get a cost, and that'd be next step, I guess. Well, for us anyways. You go do your work.
And Mark, theoretically, I mean, gentlemen, I mean, what are we looking at on, like, well, we don't do this here anymore, but kicking the can down the road. I mean, obviously, we have to go through town meeting, which would be the spring. But, I mean, funds, I mean, we would move, I'm assuming we would engineer it and have it, you'd want to get going on this probably fairly quick, right? We're not talking about 2 years by the time we,
No, but I would say, you know, with, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, with, if we voted money at Springtown meeting, by the time you got through design and bidding, you're talking probably sometime in 2018, before you're got a
And-
shovel in the ground.
are we good? I mean, for the I mean,
That's a good
are we,
question, Frank.
I mean, are we gonna have to restrict truck traffic possibly, or,
That's the question. Right now, no, based on what we saw last
Okay.
August, but that was a year ago. We have been out there doing some investigation recently. We didn't see anything alarming, but we haven't done another thorough inspection. But there wasn't anything alarming. There were things that, that crack.
yeah, we saw some more detailed pictures back over the winter that were interesting to say the least of what's under there, but.
It's stable. And
Yeah, that was my question. I mean, eventually, I guess you would have to restrict truck traffic first and then go from there, but we have a little bit of time in order of the municipal process of getting things funded and,
Yeah.
okay.
It makes sense to keep looking at it.
Yeah, no,
after
absolutely.
Doing our work.
Keep the state
keep an eye
away.
on it.
Great.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for your patience.
See you in September. It's actually cold in here tonight. It's kind of nice. Janice is over there shivering.
Well, because my feet, my shoes got wet.
Well, it's because
So my feet are cold.
you moved the table. Now you're closer.
I
You
like,
see?
I like the table.
Yeah, this isn't bad.
Finally.
I can see everybody. Yeah.
2.5 years, but it's fine.
Roberto.
Yes. In the interest of time, unless there are any questions from the board on any administrative matters, I'll go
None.
right into the action.
Thanks, Mark.
Right into the action items. On appointments, the first appointment is to the Water and Sewer Rate Review Committee. I respectfully recommend the appointment of Mr. Ross Gatta of Nasoya Incorporated to the Water and Sewer Rate Review Committee for a one-year term effective immediately to expire on June 30th of 2017. Mr. Gatta would be the significant industrial user representative on the Water and Sewer Rate Review Committee. As the board is aware, for years, Kane's had the representative who served us very well in that capacity, and unfortunately, with the corporate changes being there, he resigned from the committee, and we will miss him. But Mr. Ross Gatta from Nasoya has stepped forward and expressed an interest for the year ahead, and Mark and I recommend him for appointment to the committee. I think it'll be a good fit, especially as Nasoya is under new ownership and is looking to make some
And
improvements
it doesn't
there.
smell anymore.
Yeah.
So moved, as outlined by the town administrator.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
The next appointment is to the Community Preservation Committee. I recommend the appointment of Miss Julie Murray of Ayer to the Community Preservation Committee for a 3-year unexpired term effective immediately with the term to expire on June 30th of 2018.
So moved. Second.
And the next
All in
is,
favor?
Wait.
It's 9:15. So
All
moved.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
the next item for appointment are the appointment of special police officers. On behalf of Chief Murray, I respectfully recommend that the board appoint the list of Department of Defense police officers as special police officers to the town of Ayer for FY 2017 as outlined by the chief's memo dated July 21st.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the approval of the Ladder 1 rehab contract. On behalf of the fire chief, I respectfully request that the board vote to approve the contract for the Ladder 1 rehab in the amount of $247,980 to Greenwood Emergency Vehicles as outlined in the attached memo from Chief Pedrazi. And as the board is aware, this was approved by town meeting.
I make a motion to approve the rehab of ladder 1 for the amount of $247,980 to Greenwood. What is it?
Emergency vehicle.
Greenwood Emergency Vehicles out of Attleboro, Mass, as outlined by the memo from the chief.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
and we have that for.
It's the same company that's done the other, yeah, they've done a
Correct,
phenomenal
right.
job. If you
We
saw
did
that.
go through
Yeah.
procurement,
So
but
this one is for everyone to sign, and then this is for Gary to sign.
the next item, as the board has in your packet, Page Hilltop has been participating in a International Day of Kindness program over the last couple years under the leadership of Mr. Depp up at the school. I've participated a few times in the event. It's a great school-wide
Guest speaker,
event.
Robert Pomprian.
And to promote kindness in the schools. And what they're looking to do is they've requested, and there was a meeting, and you have the memo from Mr. Minoyan's
Just one.
office that involved the police and his office. They're looking to do for World Kindness Day, which is going to be on Sunday, November 3rd. They would like to close just a portion of Main Street in front of the bank for about a half hour from 12:45 to 45 minutes, 12:45 to 1:30 p.m. And all across the world, they simultaneously do like this flash mob event with all the kids. And so I think it would be a lot of fun. I think it'd be good for the kids. So they're asking authorization to close the street. This would be conducted by the Air Police Department, by the chief, on Sunday, November 13th, from 12:45 to 1:30 p.m. in front of the bank.
Good test to see how it's going to be with the bridge closed.
It's on a Sunday?
It's on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
And they know time is of the essence. I mean, the police will orchestrate the whole thing,
Is
but
there any issue with
Yeah,
it being 2A? No.
police chief said to me that though there will be some planning and stuff involved, that it is doable.
Okay.
But he wanted the board to be aware of it.
From
and to support.
here to,
No, just the portion in front of the bank.
okay, so you could go up and around and, okay. The Sundays mornings as you go down here is pretty
Because they want to
quiet.
use, the bank is involved with this too,
Okay.
as a backdrop and as that sort of as the area with all the kids, and just so it's safe, and there's going to be videoed, and it'll be international thing, so,
Okay.
And Robert will be,
yeah.
Stop.
through Mr. Deppie, I'd like to address the children of Ayer.
Do you really do that? Do you do that? through Mr. Deppie?
I'm full of surprises.
No, he's good, he's good.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know if a motion is needed per se, but is there
Okay.
any objection, or?
No objections from me.
All right,
I'm fine.
okay.
As long as it's organized
Supported by the
through
chief.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the chief
I
will
would
be
say
the,
give them the ultimate call on
Yep.
safety and.
okay. Finally, in your packet is amendment number 2 to the veteran service contract. As the board is aware, we have a contract, well, actually, I should say Mass Development has a contract with us where the town of Ayer provides the veteran services for all of the veterans on Devon's, and Mr. DeTillion does an excellent job in that capacity for the town and those veterans. And the purpose of this amendment, with your approval, is to extend that existing contract for an additional year to August 31st of 2017. So
So
it's,
moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Signature by the chair.
yeah.
Your signature by the chair. All in favor?
Aye.
And, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Just you.
All right. Okay, Selectmen,
Selectman Luca.
yeah. Well, I just, I got appointed to this MPO thing, so.
Get a lunch out of it, though, didn't you?
No.
No, they
go.
Little lunch.
Well, that's why.
They
you
knew he was,
that's why
no, they
you
knew you were
volunteered.
coming.
You thought there was
gonna get
food.
lunch.
They almost always have it.
It was interesting because it was stuff that I didn't really know that much about. But what this is what they want to do in the state is to consolidate different regions. And what it would be is us going in with Boston region for any funding for tips.
Yep.
So the pool might be bigger, but it's also a larger number of communities that would be involved. Right now, there's, in the Boston, it's 92 communities, I think. And then we'd add stuff out here in Central Mass, Osprey, Ashby, Townsend. And there's also a region in southern New Hampshire where Nashua is, and it comes down partly into Massachusetts. So, like the MRPCs of the world, you know, there's so many of them in the state, but they've come down with in the country, not just in the state, that these have to be consolidated.
Is it good though?
No.
Like, I mean that's my concern is, you know, you got Ayer who needs, you know,
Right.
this, and Lynn who has a, you know,
Right.
Route 1 or whatever. So,
Right.
Yeah.
128.
128, yeah.
So, we were supplied a letter, if we want to endorse that, to have that go forward. And also, if we'd like to have Robert put a letter together, so that we support the MPO and their argument to not join in with Boston.
I had a meeting through the chair, a meeting this morning. We meet monthly, all the town administrators in Neshoba Valley. And this, what we believe, as you mentioned, is bad for the MPO. And it's being driven politically on two levels. One is it has something to do with down in the southern states. Somebody didn't get what they wanted, so they want to change the rulemaking. The problem is, right now our MPO is in 22 communities. It's centric. All of the planning is reflective of the demographics of this area. As Garrett,
So we're competing against Groton, Westford,
right. What
Ashburnham,
what they're
whatever.
proposing
Yeah.
to do in this case is expand it. So now we're going to be included with Boston, those 92 communities, plus the 90,000 folks in Nashua and southern New Hampshire. So all of the demographics that are used for planning. So now our universe of competition is going to go from 22 communities, which is bad enough, to about 112, including 2 states, and you know, so
Yes, it sounds like a cost saving
Right.
thing, and we're gonna, you know, the big cities are gonna get the, they're gonna get
the big, right. So now we're in with Boston. So this letter, and we could, if it's up to the board, we would tailor it, obviously, from you, Ayer,
Yeah.
so forth.
It has
It's-
to be in next week.
Yeah, it's
political
time
favors
sensitive.
down in the city, and you know how
Right.
that goes. Forget it.
We do agree with the MPO that this proposed change in the rules will hurt dramatically, not just our MPO, the town. It just widens the universe. So now instead of competing,
Is this coming out of the State House, this proposed
that's
change?
federal
Oh.
change. And all of the MPOs in this state, I know, are lining up against this, as they are many other states, because it changes the whole census tract,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Then you can see them starting to reduce the amount of money in the MPO.
Right.
Sure.
And then, you know, you get less money with more communities
Absolutely.
fighting for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
But, you know, I recommend that we have Robert write up a letter,
I agree.
and if you can leave it on the desk, sign it, and we can,
Yep.
what's it, by next Friday?
Yeah, it's by next Friday, so.
Can
I'll do my best to get in.
If you can get your button here to do it.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to ask, Robert, there was, Governor Baker passed do you need a vote on that? No. We're all set.
If there is an objection by the board, we'll put it together.
No, I think we're all in agreement.
Passed, well, the state passed
Yeah.
something about signing the warrant.
Modernization.
Yeah,
Learned
so
about that yesterday.
the mass modernization bill passed last week, and I did confirm today at the meeting I was with, the governor signed it last week. We're waiting to hear back. Some of the items will go into effect immediately, some of them within 90 days. So somebody from our group is going to get the
I saw November sometime.
breakdown.
yeah.
But for example, one of the provisions in
That
there
you guys
is
might like.
all boards that have a
Yeah,
warrant
I love it.
can authorize one member to sign the warrant if you choose. So, in other words, I know.
Till they
we had-
retire, so we won't be able to find.
So, for the next meeting, we're waiting to see if it's gone into effect. We haven't been able to get an answer yet, but
That's
that
a
might be something
good
to
idea.
consider.
So you have to authorize, it wouldn't be just like Janice stops by or I'm driving by, it would have to be.
No, we have authorized one.
You have
Yeah,
to
okay.
authorize.
And you would go on
Right.
vacation and it'd just be that
Well, we
silly
know
thing.
you
right?
won't stop by.
No, that's true. So I'm out, but,
Right.
so until he retires.
But
then we'll
if
see
the
how it goes.
authorized
Just
individual
bought
couldn't
something,
make
so I'm not-
it,
Yeah.
somebody else could, you can still look. So we'll bring forth that and an update to the board. There was a lot of changes in procurement, some other changes with parking revenue and so forth. A lot of, not everything we had hoped made it through, but a lot of things did.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, they had
good.
3 big bills, that, the economic development relief bill, and the bridges.
Was there something with parking, like enterprise fund or something?
Yes, so now you can have, before
So when you
with
have
parking,
meters-
parking had
Yes.
to go
That's what we're
Parking
gonna
had
have.
to go back into parking. Now with the change, the parking revenue can go into the general fund. See, so before, all the parking you collected had to go back into, say, the parking lots and so forth. Now it's a local decision. It'd still be a vote from you folks or in town meeting, but you can have the parking revenue go into the
A
general fund.
percentage to the parking fund,
Yeah, or you
and the
could
rest to
split
the
it.
general fund, or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
so I was thinking,
You can
Yeah.
also split it.
I like that.
Okay, so we'll get that letter together.
And that study's, has that been awarded, the bid and all that, the parking study, is that up and?
Yeah, that's gone out to bid.
I know it went out to bid, I just didn't know if it
Yeah, I'll
was-
check with
okay.
him. He's ready to roll on that. I'll check though. We'll find out. I should have asked him when he was here.
All right, approval of meeting minutes?
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the meeting minutes of July 12, 2016.
You okay?
Fine.
Because I thought you were gonna doze off in the middle of that.
Is that a second?
Second, yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hey. All right. Okay,
I don't even remember the July 12th meeting.
so we're
So
looking to move.
I make a motion that the Board of Selectmen
Re-enter.
re-enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A. Exemption number 3, litigation strategy, Gittner versus Town of Ayer. Exemption number 3, litigation strategy, Worthingdale versus Town of Ayer. Exemption number 3, collective bargaining, police superiors, contract negotiations, update. And we will adjourn from executive session and we will not reconvene.
To discuss these.
And to discuss these
Would have a detrimental impact.
would have a detrimental impact to our strategy.
I always forget that part too, that's why I let you make the motion. Second.
Yeah, we just write that out.
Moved and seconded for executive session. All in favor, Chris?
Aye.
Jay?
Aye.